Hey everyone, it's Sheila Blackadder once again. With me this time, I've got Funny to the Moon, Tana and Travis Simmons. Tana, I hope
Hello,
I
hello.
pronounced your name right.
Yes, that's Tana. That's perfect.
And I've also got fantastic. And I've also got a very good friend of mine, Anton Hill, who is going to join me today. So, welcome, Anton.
Thank you.
Is he there?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Sweet.
Although it looks like nobody has their camera on, so I
Okay.
think I'm going to shut mine off.
All right. Let's do it. This is Funny to the Moon, live with trolling, with logic. That's beautiful. Let's do it, y'all.
Awesome. I guess before we get into anything else, do you have anything that you want to plug? Any big major things that you have coming up? Any shows or anything? Maybe
Yeah,
tell people a little bit about.
Well, Funny to the Moon, we do pretty much, we record live, open topics a lot of the time. We go 2 or 3, sometimes 5 hours straight, and we put them up on SoundCloud on / Funny to the Moon. I'll put that link in the chat room. I'm Travis Simmons. Tana Manu and I, we both were stand-up comedians for 15, 20 years, and now we do this, where we talk about everything from atheist, agnostic, or otherwise unconvinced persons, all the way through politics, white privilege, and class privilege.
Oh, those whiteys.
Yes. Those whiteys.
Fucking crackers piss me off.
Well, we don't use crackers. We use terms like watermelon whites, Joker jeans, dubs, white
whites.
terrorism, white terrorists.
Joker jeans.
Oh, these are awesome. I'm up for any white slur.
Yeah, and so about the one thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tina.
And you discover some things. We've done several hundred shows, and
wow.
you discover some things that we might be talking about tonight. That some sort of hidden facts about the debating world, the open internet, discussion groups, the Facebook frenzies that happen, and it turns out, like, I originally thought that atheism and skepticism were the same thing, but doing this show, It turns out that being an atheist can actually have nothing to do with being a skeptic.
No.
Like, atheism sometimes is, for many people, just the understanding that religion is fake, but they could be into crystals or past lives or... No, I mean, atheists can still be, past life people. They can still be like The Secret. They still, your mind creates your reality. And I go, I thought you're an atheist.
Yeah.
But so that's one of the main things we've learned over doing the show is how these titles and definitions that people give themselves or have handed themselves with the advent of the internet, like free thinker, skeptic, what's the one? There's a lot of independent talk. I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I'm an independent, and so. But it turns out there really isn't that much independent thought. That most people do belong to a group, and there's only like 5 groups.
Yeah, I was
there isn't that much diversity.
The more you get out, and no, there really is not. And it's funny. The more you get out and you start talking to people who are supposed to be free thinkers, they're open-minded, and they're still latching on to various things that just don't make any sense in the real world.
That's one reason I hate that fucking word. I've always hated free thinker. It's such bullshit because there's so many people who claim it, and yet, you know, when you come up against their particular baby, then suddenly it's emotional appeals, and I just, yeah, I just really don't.
Yeah,
like
it is. It's like, you know, one of the biggest ones we found over the last few years, especially when the cycles of voting come around, is voting, is the idea of voting and its real power and its real connection, you know, in any way to people being able to make changes in their society. And, you know, I talk about how it really, you know, the numbers are in. You know, voting really has no connection to anything real that people need to affect their society. It's, you don't vote for what the salaries of your elected officials should make. They vote for that for themselves. You don't vote on the levels of cleanliness that your water and air should, you know, how many microns per million parts or whatever. That's decided for you. You know, the essential things that we should be voting on, you don't get to vote on. You only get to vote on some person. And so to me, it's when people, free thinking is about thinking about other things besides just what is going on. Like, what if representative government, which has been understood since the pharaohs and the Greeks and the Romans and parliamentary law and kings and queens and emperors and all the different ways we have tried for a few people who are funneled most of the money and political power in the society, as what we call the 1%, they control the interest rates, the salaries, essentially the lives of the 90%. That's just been what's been tried forever since we came out of the caves, and I'm not even that confident anymore in these modern times that is even a government or a system that's necessary. What if we don't need to be represented by a few people? What if that's not even a valid way for a society to be built anymore? I'm talking about using our connectivity, using the satellites. Do we still need a town crier, is my point. There's something archaic to me about representative government and democracies. There's a trick built in, because it really works. Here's what everyone says. It really, really works when everybody votes. And so what it is, it's an impossible scenario. It's like saying nobody would get STDs if they just wouldn't have sex. Well, for humanity, that's not a valid statement. What do you mean no one has sex? Of course you're not going to get diseases without sex, but you also don't get children. And you also don't propagate your species. That doesn't make sense. But in the same way, that... Oh, go ahead.
In the chat room, somebody said, Green Host, 2008 said, you don't want politically ignorant people to vote? Have you never heard?
I think we're all. I think the system is made for us to all be politically ignorant. Who is your senator? I don't know. He's a couple of billboards and some debates that I saw online. I don't know who he is. It's not. If we could just be honest.
Okay, well, that's your point. I mean, what's the solution then? Okay, we all know there's a problem. Great, fantastic. That's established. So should we go back to black and white marbles in Athens, or do you think are you an anarchist where you throw the whole thing away? In which case, okay, great. Then stop driving your car and don't use freeways because somebody pays for that, someone organizes that, and I'm sick and tired of the.
Yes, I think that.
I mean, then give up on Skype. Like, hang up.
Saying,
no, I'm not saying get rid of government. Get rid of government or societal agreements to
why do we even vote
pay for things collectively.
That is a valid thing to do, and fine. Let's say it isn't a valid thing to do. What is the proposed solution?
Well,
okay, the solution would be that we need checks and balances so that if this is going to be our system of government, elected officials, so the many hundreds of millions choose a few dozen. And those few dozen will through our Congress and Senate, and being the president will kind of form and run our society sort of for us. If that's the way that it has to be, then we must have a very severe system, a ruthless system that does not allow the criminal, the charlatan, the salesman, the lawyer, the businessman to always be the people on the ballot. If we are going to say that we need a few people, it's just human nature, a few will always rule the many. If that's the case, and the many have some say in it, then the system to choose these people has to be extremely severe, and it can't have anything to do with money, obviously. As soon as, right now, all we know in America is, how do you get on a ballot to be the governor? How do you get on a ballot to be a senator or the president? It's a really confusing, but we all agree on one thing: money. You got to be super, super rich. Everything else is foggy. I don't know. Maybe you need charisma. Maybe you need to be tall. Maybe you need to speak Spanish. I don't know. It's a crapshoot. But money, we know, is an ultimate necessity. And so if I cannot take part in the leadership, then it's not valid that I take part in the followership. In the choose. It's like, if I can't be one of the people to be chosen, then I really don't stand in any place to do any choosing either. It's that basic. If I would not be a master, I would not be a slave.
Mm-hmm. Too poor to run, too poor to
Yes. Yeah, that's I think so. If you're too poor to run for office, then you're too poor to vote for office. I mean, because it's not a choice. It means that I'm stuck in the class system where I have no chance to get on these ballots just for the sheer dollar amount. And yet I'm supposed to participate in the other side of it. Just give up the fact that there's no way possible for me as a working person to get on a ballot. I should just shrug that fact off and go to be one of the pickers. Just be one of the choosers. I go, no, I want to be on the ballot. Well, then raise $500 million, as both candidates did in the last election, the first $1 billion election they loved touting. And that's out of my range. I mean, it's such a place that no citizen can be.
Right, because if I could raise $500 million, if I could raise $500 million, why would I use it on running for office?
And there are ways to check for benevolence. We can check for benevolence. We can look at someone's history. We can look into how they've spent their money, their level of frugality.
I don't know. This is starting to get in some gray territory that I don't think would ultimately bear out in the long run. I mean, because you're already saying, let's judge someone's business decisions or financial decisions, and we have the right and the moral high ground to decide that they have made a wise decision, and I don't know how that is decided.
Well, let's see here.
It's about how much they share. It's about creating the criteria. Do they share? Do they have too much? Do they have too many?
But you're just declaring that sharing is a good thing, and I'm not sure that that is
science.
You are saying that you don't know if sharing is a good thing? Is that really
I say that? I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm saying he's declaring that it is a good thing. I am unconvinced that...
Yeah.
I'm unconvinced that sharing is a good thing.
No, would you stop saying that? I'm unconvinced that the declaration of it is enough to just, that's it. Like, okay, well, we declared it, therefore it is. That's a fiat. So... why should I listen to your fiat any more than anyone else's fiat? Now, I can be convinced that it's a good thing, and I happen to believe it's a good thing, but what if I didn't? Why is my voice any less valid if I didn't believe that?
Well, because I would try to compel you with science and genetics and anthropology and geology.
What I was hearing was like, well, we need to look at what they've done. Okay, fine. I mean, I think that's kind of okay. And then I hear, well, we need to make sure they've shared. It's like, well...
what it means is this. Think about this. If you're a businessman running for office and we find out that you have made your millions on figuring out how to put your business in the place where it can take advantage of local desperation, we don't want you in office.
Well, but right that. There, take advantage of, I think that's very open to interpretation. Local desperation, I'm not exactly, I mean, I have a,
you don't know what that means, really?
Well, I have an idea.
Okay, so listen, okay, so here, check it out.
Give me an example. Give me an example I could look up.
Give you an example.
The example is how severely fought the raising of the minimum wage every time it comes around, every 6 or 9 years. And we're talking about another 75 cents or $1.
Right.
And because and because the reason why the minimum wage and how low it must stay is so important is that what every single rich person and every wealthy person secretly knows is that the reason why they maintain that status of being rich or wealthy in this country is because they don't pay their bills, starting with their employees. That's the key. That is the key. That is why they are rich. That because the wealth comes from, it really is something, it's the unpaid labor of the worker. That's what wealth is. It really can't be made any other way. And so when somebody's rich, they agree to the premise that unfairly paid people are okay. I don't mind, and we hear the language every time the minimum wage debate comes up. Two things happen. You can't touch the minimum wage because you're going to force employers to overpay people. So if you take it to $8 an hour, well, you're going to force some employers that $8 an hour is not worth what that human being is performing in that hour. And I've heard that 100 times. The question that can't be answered by the people that say that is, could you tell me what is that job? What is the human hour of activity that is overpaid, not evenly paid or paid well, overpaid at $8 an hour? Is it shoveling for an hour?
It's assigning an arbitrary number.
No. What is it? Everyone says it, but what is that job? Yeah. Do you really, flipping the fries and burgers for an hour is not worth it? And so there's this kind of walkover talk from people that have never been poor, that have never touched poverty, that have never been in the working class, that have never held a shovel, or a washcloth. And it's this language that's so out of touch and so devoid of any reality in human lives that it's very difficult to debate. We've had economic professors of economics on the show, and they get flustered in 3 or 4 questions and always end up hanging up. Because
I'm not an economics professor, but I also have not ever held a rag or a shovel. Does that make my work or my life experience less valid?
Yes. Okay. When it comes to this subject, as not being
how many rags have you handled? How many shovels have you held? I mean, again, you're making this judgment.
Oh, many. No, I come from all that. But I'm not being facetious.
And my parents do too.
I'm saying in the same way.
Let me tell them who you are. The person you're talking to has performed stand-up comedy, hour 45 minutes clean, hour 45 minutes dirty. We've done over 400 3-hour podcasts while he was rebuilding his home with reusable things, and his home was toured by the Frank Lloyd Wright School of Architecture.
Okay.
No, I do. I'm like an artist person, but I mean, for this point, I'm not just trying to be like facetious. I'm saying like a black person. Someone says just because you're black, you have a higher understanding of racism and the effects of segregation in this country. I would say, the black person does have a higher understanding, and a white person is missing a lot by not being black when it comes to certain.
I agree with that, but it's just like my skill set.
And so to not work
millions, but it's definitely not. It's worth more than $8 an hour. But so I don't know. I'm hearing an absolute judgment about a non-absolute value, where it's like, okay, so you're drawing the line at digging ditches. So, well, to some people, digging ditches is a high pay job, and they have a certain amount of privilege that the non-ditch diggers who do not have that skill set don't get to have. So you're choosing the level at that level, whereas there's plenty of people who would look at that level and say, well, that's luxury to me. So why are you drawing the line there? I mean, seriously, like,
it's about
considering how few people are taking manual labor jobs now, and why there's such a huge demand in that market for anybody with a skilled trade. I would say that there's a lot of people that they're just not interested in doing that sort of work anymore. There's a lot of, especially because they're pushing technology and IT and communications are all the big thing that they're pushing, and now everybody's abandoning the stuff that we really, who's going to build our bridges, who's going to complete our infrastructure, who's going to take care of this stuff if nobody's willing to get their hands dirty.
Well, and frankly, I would be willing to get my hands dirty for the right amount of money. I mean, I think anyone would agree with that.
Right.
Well,
but the people in charge always argue that those are unskilled labor jobs, and that's why
and I agree
with
you guys.
And that's rude. It's rude I agree. And completely garbage. So that's the kind of stuff we talk about on Funny to the Moon. I mean, so how's that? I mean, that's Taina Manu on Funny to the Moon. Okay? I mean, there's more to it than that, really. That's just the class part of it.
Right.
Well, because there's something.
Saying, I just wanted to be very clear on terms, because I feel like everyone, right and left and center, throws terms out expecting everybody understands and agrees with them when that isn't necessarily the case. And I think that where education and enlightenment comes is when the assumption is not made that everybody understands where everyone's coming from, because then you end up inevitably getting tripped up semantically, and then you have people not understanding and walking away from the table not understanding but thinking they do, and then to some degree nothing really changes because everyone assumed that they understood but they really didn't. So that's why I was asking.
A lot of times people are pretending not to understand. So
and that's the thing.
Give me an example of what I mean.
Right.
There's a James Baldwin quote. Do you know who James Baldwin was? He said that every white person in America, no matter what he or she says, knows one thing. They know they would not like to be black here. And if they know that, that's all they need to know. And everything else they say is a lie, because people are pretending not to know. Does that make sense? So like we talk about white privilege. I said that white privilege is an invisible steroid that sometimes you don't know you're getting, right? So when I get stopped and frisked, you don't know that you didn't get stopped and frisked.
I completely agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I've never debated against that concept, because I realize that is the case, and I realize that most of the case is that I'm simply not aware of the cases that occur, because I don't have to be. I completely agree with that.
In the chat room, someone typed, many white people in America would like to be black. Lie. It's not true. It's not true at all.
I think she's being facetious. I think it's just joking.
Yeah. It must be joking.
But with the wealth, and I've tried to read Milton Friedman and Bernanke's bio and other economists and the world markets and all that, and I'm sorry. If you trace it down, it's like, why is, when you take money to a store and buy something, why do they make the exchange? $300 $1 bills for this car. It's, where does the actual worth start at and come from? And you got to go all the way back to like pulling a fish out of the ocean or cutting a tree down. And once you do that, you realize that all wealth, all extra money carried by anybody is just money that didn't make it to the laborer. But there's nothing magical. There's no fluffy investing. It's just.
It seems like you're kind of ignoring exchange value, though, because exchange value is
even that part of it.
What?
Well, I mean, it's the exchange value is made up by, London and New York and Hong Kong, and it is, to say it's not arbitrary. I don't know what that means. It's decided. It's decided on by men.
Yeah, exchange value is arbitrary, but it does have actual value within the society. Like the movie that I choose to download from iTunes. The reason it has value is, yes, because of the labor behind it, but also because someone somewhere along the line made up a number, and we all agree that that's an acceptable number, and then I exchange my numbers in my account with the digital numbers in their account, and they give me the copy, but I would not say that that's a 1-to-1 ratio of value to labor. I would say that a good deal of that value is just made up, arbitrary. We just decide.
I think it is, but it's. No, I think some of it is, but when it.
In the chat room, they said there are a lot of laborers in that chain. Each one of them takes their piece.
Oh yeah, certainly, but I don't.
But it's such a tiny. It's such a tiny unfair piece that it's like, so you take a furniture manufacturer who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars and has 100 factories. Why is he worth that much money? It's because the person who cut down the tree didn't get paid shit. The person who trucked the tree didn't get paid shit. The person who cut the tree up into lumber didn't get paid shit. The person who turned the lumber into chairs didn't get paid shit. And the person who painted and finished the chairs didn't get paid shit. And then the person who sold them in a retail outlet didn't get paid shit. So by the time that chair sells for $100, it's only cost 50 cents because nobody in the chain got paid fairly. And the really is, I couldn't find any other examples on the planet. It's the only reason why anything's worth anything.
I would wonder, though, I remember, I don't agree with this, but I remember hearing a quote, basically, from Phil Knight saying that the reason that sneakers cost as much as they do and where they have them manufactured, is that Americans simply will not pay a certain amount, above a certain amount for sneakers. Now, make whatever moral judgment you want to make of that, feel free, but I think you had a point. I think that given a certain range, most Americans would simply not buy certain products. And some products, if they aren't bought, then certain things don't happen. Like if every person involved in the labor chain in the manufacture of a car were paid what you guys think they should be paid, whatever that is. So let's just say that the minimum for buying a car, any kind of car, is, I don't know, $75,000. Right there, you have a huge problem because most people who are like me don't have that lying around, so they're going to have to get a loan. Okay,
right.
Well, what if
so in your analogy, you're assuming that if the workers get paid properly, that the owner keeps taking the same share that they were taking. That's kind
of I mean that's actually a good point. I hadn't thought of that. I'm just saying, if everyone is paid what you guys think they should be paid, doesn't that necessarily mean that the price will at least be the same, if not go up substantially?
Well, how we were breaking it down was like this, right? So, if you have a business that you can't pay $10 an hour, you don't really have a business. You have a trick. Yeah. You're trying to trick us. Yeah. You're trying to find desperate people to do something.
What the minimum wage? Yeah. What the minimum wage also does? You can call it a tax. You can even call it a penalty. But it ensures that unless a business is viable enough to be able to add to a society and not take from it, then it's not ready. And if the minimum wage is $25 an hour, and there's people saying, I can't have a business for $25 an hour, I could never have, then you don't need a business. Then you don't know how to run one. Then you should be out of the game. A high minimum wage, it gets rid of the pussies. It gets rid of the crybabies. It gets rid of the people that don't want it. It gets rid of the idea of monopolizing and taking over other companies. Because they're, and buying other, younger upstarts, is because if they had to pay people properly, then the failure rate would be so high that it would just let the ass kickers and the go-getters be in charge of everything. It would create an energy and a force of innovation and futuristic thought. It's what we need in a modern era. But this $7, $8 an hour, this drag along Vanderbilt, Getty family wealth structure, this is why the minimum wage is the way it is. So these people can maintain their strength and their wealth. Why do you think it's so important? Wouldn't some company just want to shut up everybody and guys like me and go, all right, Kana, you know what? I'm Bill Gates. Watch this. I'm going to pay $25 an hour. Oh, yeah? I'm so-and-so at Walmart. You don't think I can do it? You don't think I got an MBA from Harvard? Watch this. I'll pay my employees $20 an hour, and I'll still be innovative, and I'll still be at the forefront of my business, right? None of them say that. They won't even do it as a joke. They know that their lives teeter on this $7, $8 an hour in 2014. They all know that that's where everything teeters on. Mark Cuban knows that. Warren Buffett knows that. Bill Gates knows that. They're not impressive people. I've never met a rich man who had a better mind than me. These people are they just agree to sin. They just don't mind participating in wickedness. They don't care that there's hungry people in the streets out in front of their houses. Literally, they just don't care.
In the chat room,
but that's all you need to have money.
In the chat room, one of the guests says, I live in Australia. The minimum wage is much higher, and we seem to do fine. Please donate, says Trolling with Logic. Donate to
I want to
Engineers Without Borders.
I want to take a minute to just do a shout-out. We're currently sitting at just over $2,800. For anybody who isn't aware, we're raising money for Engineers Without Borders. And it's kind of like Doctors Without Borders. They go where people are needed and help set up infrastructure, there's septics and wells and roads and bridges and that sort of stuff. We're hoping for a $3,000 goal. We set a goal earlier for $2,000, and we have beaten that, and we're doing a really, really good job. You guys are doing awesome, and you're donating a lot of money, and it's great. So we're almost at 3,000, so if you can help push us up there, that'd be great.
All right.
So who's got the fart jokes?
Okay, so hey, if you want jokes, but here, how about this? We got a couple different ways we could do this. Tana can talk about any topic on the planet. So if the chat room wants to bring up a topic, we can knock that out. Or
I was actually wondering if there was something we were supposed to be doing, because I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
well, we're talking to the world, so.
Okay. Hey, world, how are you?
We really were thinking about, what topics do. I don't really have any fart jokes.
No, we'll do the fart jokes in the next hour. That's
okay. For 20 years, you left fart jokes back in year 3.
Oh, really? Come on. They're the best.
We're at a higher level of jokes.
Oh, all right. So now it's lawyer jokes.
I heard a great reference to doing something that's fruitless, doing something inane or without purpose, or doing something where there's just no chance to have an effect, much less win. And it was called sword fighting with a fart. I just recently heard somebody say that. I said, listen, they were complaining about a silly question. Like something, well, if God isn't real, then prove to me that the tree doesn't show you that God's real, these type of arguments. And the reply was, listen, I'm not going to sword fight with that fart.
Yeah.
It's just, it's such a funny phrase, I thought. Like, I'm not going to waste my time on something that has no purpose.
Okay, so here, let me ask
I'm not going to...
Will the people in the chat room donate more if they hear a dirty story? You want to hear a dirty story? You want to hear something nasty? Is that what you want tonight?
Would they donate more?
Yeah, I'm just asking. I mean, is that what you guys want? I mean, we can talk about anything. Seriously, we do 5 hours. Okay, we're just getting warmed up on. We got 20 minutes left.
That's it?
I mean, but it's like.
That's like. Or Tana, we could show them another topic that's hard for people to hear, because we do. This is the working class podcast. What we do, and so talking about men's rights could be something we could talk about. We could talk about how men how boys are as precious as girls, and not only just how there is no sort of conspiracy of this patriarchy that runs America or whatever, the world, but the idea of the constant and ever-present
oppression of women over world history is also a very difficult subject to bring up in a historical, geographical, anthropological sense, because it's just categorically untrue that the world has despised women and has held them down forever. And most of the things that I've read, it's the exact opposite, that unless the women are revered, unless they get the lifeboats, unless it's women and children first, there's no society that can thrive. And that every woman is a viable baby maker, and that creates a preciousness for her to exist, for the human race. Every single woman is a possible baby maker. But every man can replace thousands of other men with just one pair of balls. And so there's almost a disposability that men have endured. There's a love of our own demise for our cultures and societies and nationalism. We're supposed to sort of enjoy our dedication to our own deaths for things. You know, going to war.
Who came out with that quote, there's no greater glory than to die for one's country? And when I first read that, I was like, who the fuck came up with this bullshit?
Exactly.
Like,
so you know.
I can think of a few things that are greater glorious than that.
We'll give you something else. Tana and I, on Funny to the Moon, we're in the Marines.
Oh, okay.
And we hate that shit.
Yeah.
Tana, tell them the story about boot camp. And so they really get to hear a real
story. There's a bunch of there's a bunch of stories about. There's a few of the Marine Corps boot camp. I can't talk of the other services, but this is a tough one for people too, because this is very taboo. This is almost like the blue wall for police officers. You know, they don't tell on each other, and everyone that goes to the military they keep the hero ethos alive. You know, even after they got out, you know, I was in, thank you for your service, and blah, 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 and Veterans Day and Memorial Day and all this kind of stuff. But it's actually quite gross, you know. The military, war, convincing young men to die for reasons they don't understand is really quite wicked and sickening and even pathological.
You can help me out with something. I'm visually impaired, so I cannot serve. But a friend of my mom's has said things like, "Oh, you know, all those." He served in Nam, and he says things like, "Oh, I will not dishonor those men who fought and died for my freedom. I will not allow their deaths to be in vain." And having read Howard Zinn's People's History of America, I'm convinced that the vast majority of all soldiers on all battlefields representing all nations in all of human history have died in vain, because most of those wars and most of those battles, especially in American history, seem to have been absolute horseshit and not worth. In fact, I think his opening sentences to his chapter on World War I are, and I'm very much paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but it was basically, World War I was a bunch of people fighting for no reason at all, and millions of people died for no good reason, and nothing was gained. It was completely pointless.
I think there's a British comedian named maybe like Randy Newman or something, but it was YouTube called The History of Oil, and in it he explained that he said that really that the World War I was when the British Navy was switching from coal to oil. So take that. So watch that. It's really good. Really good on YouTube. It's called The History of Oil. Look that up.
And there's many definitions of war, from, you know, old men sending young men to die, you know, for their reasons or whatever and all this. Profit. But I like, for their profit. There's also just the idea that war is the resolution of conflict by exchanging corpses.
Yeah,
and that really is a great one, because it's a version of something I've heard. I use my own words there, but you know, you get the idea. It's really, you have a border dispute, you have a beef with another culture or society, and what war really is because you will come to a resolution. Haven't we all? Right? Every war has ended. We we signed, World War II. We dropped two atom bombs and then signed a peace treaty on the USS Missouri or whatever. We got to the peace treaty. We just need to exchange a certain amount of corpses before we'll talk to each other. And so it's a psychopathy to even think it's necessary to believe in it, to participate in it, there's so much propaganda in America for young men to join. And by the time I did at 17, thinking the commercials to do with honor and duty and service and patriotism and courage. I mean, all the great words, the poet's words for a young man's life. I mean, they're the poet's words, right? And so they're using the greatest terms for stirring to stir a young man's breast, And you get there, and it's disrespect, cussing. Your mom's a whore. Someone is fucking your girlfriend tonight. You made a mistake. You're a bitch. You're a punk. I own you. And you do. I mean, I'm 17 and a virgin, by the way. And I'm thinking, what is all this? Well, I joined. I'm a patriot, aren't you? Yes? No? Why this language? Why the degradation of my character and my family name? Why humiliate me in public and talk about my female siblings and indeed my sacred mother? What did I do to this country? My mind was boggled. I couldn't believe this was the process and the place that I had arrived from those commercials. The commercials, you're supposed to play giant chess on horseback in a lightning storm with a sword.
I remember.
And you arrive, and
I get to ride horses? That sounds awesome.
No, it was somebody yelling at you all day long for nothing. It was somebody yelling at you all day long for nothing. It was somebody treating you like, the stuff they would do is they did something like when you first got there, they made you line up, and they said this specifically, line up asshole to belly button.
Right.
Yeah. And you got to remember, I'm like a church kid, too, at the time. And I'm like, wait a minute, asshole, it's like asshole to belly button. Like, why, what's with the faggotry, right? I mean, what about scooch it up? Hey, get close. Close the gap. What's this asshole to belly button? It didn't even make sense to me, the logistics of it. But they meant, press your crotch up against the guy's ass cheeks in front of you, and that's how tightly we want you lined up. And there's no reason under creating a soldier, under whatever, to do that, unless you're not trying to create a man. You're trying to destroy one. And that's what I realized what the military is about. It destroys manhood. It kills honor. It takes away honesty and virtue, so that people that go through the military process come out liars, scoundrels, cowards. They won't tell you the truth about the process. They're too embarrassed.
They will not tell you the truth about how when you're in boot camp, many times they give you like 60 seconds to piss, and you got 3 dicks out crossing streams in a urinal. Well, who would make somebody do that?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but isn't the goal of the military to better, I guess, make meat for the grinder? I've never understood the military to have the goal to treat people decently.
Meat for the grinder. You're absolutely right.
And I'm not trying to defend it. I'm a pacifist myself.
No, you're a bullet
You're
sponge.
Absolutely right.
Like when that last dude said,
while I understand your complaints, it sounds to me like the military
right
is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, which is making men.
Yeah, but nobody knows that. But if you look at the contrast of the propaganda involved, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Then now it's this unbelievable trick on a young man, on a young man's mind, on his virtue and his sense of duty.
And when you complain
about it,
they all say the same things they would say if you were complaining about being in a marriage that you messed up on. They say the same thing when you're in the military. Well, you should have thought about that before you signed the contract. Like, it's on you to have been able to resist all of the commercials. It's in every.
How could I have known? Yeah, I hadn't.
Event.
I was in every way a child. I mean, I hadn't had any pussy. Well, I graduated early, and I thought, let's serve the country. Let's give my family name a little nod. Let's be a patriot. Let's do something honorable. I got time. I'll get out, and I'll still be young and can do whatever I want. Why not be dedicated to this place that my first-generation immigrant father revered so much? Why don't I give this place a little love? Why don't I, in fact, give this place called America my life? That's what I thought was a good idea at one time.
I can
Let me
understand
ask you
that.
guys
And
a
so-
question.
Okay.
What do you, at this point in this country, every boy that turns 18 has to sign up for selective service. Women don't. Do you think that, the odds of actually needing the draft to be reinstated are fairly slim. I'm sorry. Do you guys think that it's necessary to even have them signing up for selective service at this point, or do you think it should be across the board and every 18-year-old, not just guys, but perhaps women should be signing up as well? Which direction would you like to see that go?
A big
I say no sign-ups.
Right, of course you don't want no sign-ups. And as a matter of fact, we want not only no sign-ups, but we think that former military guys should follow around recruiters, and when they lie to the kids in the high schools, just hey, don't listen to him. He's lying to you. You know what I mean? And just do him like that. We got 8 minutes left.
Yeah, I don't think compulsory military service. They love saying in Israel that everybody has to be in the military in certain South American countries and stuff. They do make the boys sign up here, but they shouldn't. They should, and America can start it and say that we will not participate in any war games. Either your leaders have enough brain power and command of language and logic to be able to deal with this globe, or they cannot. And so if you have a leader that reserves war, that holds a standing army, that is an idiot, that is half an animal, then you have a lizard who is in charge of you. You need somebody who knows fundamentally that war is not necessary if we're dealing with people that have brains. If we're dealing with human beings that have balance and 3D vision and a voice box, then the exchange of corpses to solve problems has to be considered like eating rocks for nutrition.
I think
it
that's
just has
true,
to be
but
considered.
I think it's ultimately an incredibly naive perspective, simply because it seems that a great deal of the industry out there, as Eisenhower warned, is 100% dependent on that. And just as the government has had to bail out the financial industry for fucking itself and the airline industries for fucking themselves, I don't foresee any time ever in this country that has regions like the South and the Tidewater area and Appalachia, people who have very long, centuries-old histories of honor in military, whether you consider that valid or not. I don't see any of this changing because there's.
Well, you're actually wrong. We've had people. On
Okay,
the show before.
I'm glad.
No, we had guys on the show before who called up when Tanny was in the middle of a rant on the military, and the guy would say, "I'm in the military and I can't believe blah 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 blah," and I'm not exaggerating. After about an hour on the show, the guy began to tell us how the military had fucked him over.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay, it doesn't take that long. Okay, it really doesn't. Yeah, it really doesn't.
I'm not
And we
that.
can break. Sometimes there could be a little dust up, but we could. I think with the right orators, with the right motivation, the right coolness, and hitting the right young people, that you could start convincing. Slowly but surely, a high percent of each new generation of young men just simply not to join. Just keep convincing more and more generations Like, that's a waste of time. It's like
my question
it's
is
the same thing
about,
with trying to convince young men to get vasectomies,
Right.
so that you don't get stuck in a child support system, like in America. I don't know how it is in other parts of the world. That's
Well,
another.
my question would be more the contractors, the corporations that employ probably hundreds of thousands of people total. And again, I'm not advocating for that, but I'm saying it does exist. That is a fact. It does exist. So I wonder.
In 1852, people thought in America.
So wait, what's the question?
In 1852, people thought that slavery was never going to stop either.
Yeah, but we've always had military. We haven't always had slavery. I mean, there's always been a need to defend oneself against one's enemy. And again, I'm a pacifist. I'm not supporting this. I'm just saying that.
So how long is it going to take for everybody to understand that we're all on this, pale blue dot together?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Because until then, we're not civilized.
Oh, I agree with you, but I mean, I'm just looking at it as reality as it is now, and as long as there are people who make a living building tanks, and then there will be a market for it, whether it is artificially created or organic. And I mean, I know people who work for these corporations, and I don't agree with them, but their particular skill sets are very highly valued by the military-industrial complex.
But you know what? What about Tana? What about like the thumbs down fart sound concept? Okay, which is a guy pulls up to a fancy restaurant in a Humvee, and there's some really nice and fine ladies there. Take over, Tana. And you know what I'm saying? And he thinks he's cool.
And what?
Yeah, I'm not following
he thinks he's cool,
ahead.
Right?
No, go ahead. I didn't.
They laugh at him and point at him as a destroyer of the ozone layer, as a destroyer of the planet.
Right. So basically public shaming.
Public shaming. Public ridicule is the only way. Okay? Using our...
Well, we also need to understand there's a fundamental misunderstanding, though, of what wealth is and who rich people are. They are just participating in a system that lacks empathy and compassion and humanity, and they agree with it. It's not anything impressive. They're not good savers. They don't read the market better than you. It's a scam. We have to understand that wealth
some of them
and wanting more than you need is a psychopathy. It is one of the psychoses that we are going to add eventually to human craziness.
I hate to interrupt, but we gotta wrap this up. Our hour has come up. Is there anything that you guys would like to plug before we have to sign off?
Yeah, I think you guys should come and find us at Funny to the Moon. We're at SoundCloud/Funny to the Moon. Tana Manu, who talked the majority of our time here. The only reason why we even do our show is because he's my friend. We would talk on the phone, and I was like, somebody else needs to hear this. And so we started doing the show. We've done 400 episodes. We do it about sometimes we do 3, 4, 5 hours at a time.
It's funny. It's smart. If you guys get a chance to, definitely check it out. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you guys for coming on. It was absolutely awesome of you. Thank you.
Hey, enjoy A News. Check out Lee Moore and Brian Allen and whoever else you guys got coming on. And they're wonderful as well. And a shout out to the Forbidden Fruit that just popped in the chat room. All right, Tana, do you want to go do a show? Let's go talk about this. All right, thank you guys.